Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mark Ennis, a.k.a. Shark, the PA announcer and DJ from your Savannah Bananas, and you are watching the Legends on Deck podcast with hosts Brian Koss and David Condi.
Welcome back to the Legends on Deck podcast. This is episode 118. And today, as you can see, Brian's not here again. So Brian's busy with the teaching the kids. And I wanted to bring on Dylan to kind of help do the show with me today. We have an exciting two guests today, and we're going to introduce them in a moment. But Dylan, thank you once again for stepping in for Brian and taking the lead on this one. I'm going to hand over the mic to you. And I want you to introduce who we have here today with us.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, we got some exciting guests on the show. We got Gary Balletto Sr. and also Gary Balletto Jr. Gary Balletto Sr., also known as Gary the Tiger Balletto Sr., 31-3-2 record in his boxing career, three-time lightweight champion, turned pro 10 days before his 21st birthday. Incredible career, fought against some amazing boxing legends, and obviously has became an icon in the boxing world. In 2017, he suffered a spinal cord injury, and it led to him founding his foundation, which is Gary Tiger Balletto Foundation. You guys can learn more about it. It provides resources to assistance to those with paralysis injury. I hope I said that correctly.
Paralysis.
Okay. Paralysis injury. Excuse me. So very happy to have you, Mr. Senior. Looking forward to getting to chat a little bit. And then obviously you got Gary, the Batman Balletto Jr., his son, and he's a professional fighter as well. 11-3, 7 of the wins coming by submission. His last 5 fights, TKOs as well. He's been knocking out some people here the last couple of fights. So, and he's got an exciting opportunity coming up. He'll be in the Dana White Contender series here, which is ran by the UFC, coming up here on August 25th, here on Tuesday. So looking forward to seeing his fight here. And gentlemen, just really happy to have you guys on here on the Legends on Deck podcast. And really this will kind of get kind of an icebreaker question thrown out to both of you. Just what really got you guys into professional fighting and wanting to do this as your career? We have guys who play baseball and basketball, and we talk to so many different athletes in the sports world. But to have professional fighting be what you guys was attracted to, what just made that the decision that you guys wanted to go in that route?
You want me to go first, Gary?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I think a little bit different for both of us, but both knew that was in our family, in our DNA. I always had it in my head, like when I was growing up, I didn't have a boxing gym. I wasn't introduced to that at a young age, but I played baseball, football, basketball. And I remember there being a kid on my baseball team that was a boxer. And I was thinking, I'll kick this kid's ass. And was something I always wanted to do. And then finally I moved quite a few times before I was 15 years old, but I'm sorry, 13 years old. At 13 years old, I found my first boxing gym in Florida. And, it was a local gym. And that's where I started. I had five amateur bouts at the time. I knocked 3 of the opponents out in the first round. I was still green, still new, just, strong. And I was 5-0 with 3 first-round knockouts, before I did anything else. And then I was off for a while. I moved to Rhode Island when I turned 18, and that's when I started my career, winning the Golden Gloves, with my second real amateur fight, not a JO anymore. And I knocked the opponent out in 40 seconds of the first round, and then I knew this is something I got to keep doing.
And Gary Jr., I'll go to you as well on the question. What kind of made you get into fighting? I know obviously your dad has such an incredible background in fighting, but what was that moment that sparked that interest and like, man, I want to do this?
Yeah, there was no single moment. I had a bit of the opposite from my dad. I was born in it, and when I was born, he already had his own boxing gym. And I learned how to walk in there, So as soon as I learned how to walk, I was already
Yeah.
running at all the guys in the gym, trying to punch them, probably below the belt because I wasn't too tall yet, But yeah, and that's where it started from there. It just was always an example in front of my eyes, and it's just I think primitively I felt like that was what I was supposed to do, what my path was. I was a rough, rugged little kid ever since. Never played well with others.
Mm,
I had to learn that skill.
yeah.
Gary Sr., where did you have the gym at? Where did you open it up at?
In Cranston, Rhode Island.
Okay.
But Gary was, always a rough little kid, but he turned into such a gentleman, in and out of the ring, very well known, very well liked in his town in Cranston. Now he has an unbelievable gym. It's called the Bat Center, and there's no place like it. You go in this place, and it's just the way people are just so nice and so all helping each other. He's got a beautiful setup. I'm waiting for
Special
the
case.
time where his opponent, where I'm waiting for an opponent, because it's very hard to come across to Gary like a punk because he treats everybody so well. I'm waiting for the opponent that does something, maybe spits at him or something crazy, because I want to see how the reaction is to this.
So it's funny. I'm sure my followers and I want to know, we want to know. So Gary Sr., how did you get the name Tiger? Like where did you get that from? And how did it stick?
My grandfather's nickname was Tiger,
Mm.
so right away that he's a very well known person in Rhode Island, um, and that's how it came. He was a fighter as well. He was in the ring
Fighting
with
family.
Rocky Marciano. He was sparred with Rocky
Oh,
Marciano.
wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yep.
That's cool. And so more intriguing, Batman. Like, and I've seen some of the pictures around, like, explain Batman.
Yeah.
How does that come about?
Batman, does he ever explain, or does he just say, "I'm Batman"? It was always a character I connected to since I was a kid, and it even in times in life, it was a source of inspiration in times when you need the extra strength, and you have that Batman complex in your mind, be like Batman. What would Batman do, And he walks that line between, light and dark, and tries to balance both worlds, and it's not too different what we do as fighters. It's a pretty wild concept to think about. You're hugging your daughter and kissing your children goodnight, and then you're heading out to go punch somebody's face in. It's a weird life to walk. um, but it started. I actually adopted the name Tiger. I was being called Tiger Junior. No, I'm the third technically.
Okay.
But I was called Tiger Junior to differentiate in the beginning when I even made my pro debut all through my amateur career. And in that first show, all my friends and family showed up wearing Batman shirts, as a way to say they're showing support. I didn't know they were doing it. And after that, it started to just stuck. I started going by Batman. I was being called Batman, and all my friends and family knew I was a fan of the character. I wore a very realistic costume a few times to some Halloween events and stuff like that. Because if you're gonna dress up, you gotta do it right. And gotta do
Guys,
Batman justice.
he's been
Um,
dressing up as
but
Batman as a little boy, so he's living his dream.
but
But
it was,
Gary, tell him why also you chose Batman too, because he's doesn't have any superpowers, and how you relate to that.
Yeah, he's a character that you draw strength and inspiration from, and if I try to hold myself to some kind of standard, it should be somewhere in the Batman realm, where you don't have any superpowers in a world full of everybody with all these special gifts and talents and everything like that, and just takes a strong will and a strong focus and strong discipline. And you can use your mind to build whatever it is you want to build. And I try to live by that as carrying the Batman banner.
Well, you know what? Like your father said, you might have to spit on some guys. He might want you to spit on some guys, right? But I didn't expect that answer, and that's I like that. It's really cool. Actually, like I watch MMA from time to time, and I don't know, you guys beat up more on guys than most boxers do. Like the differences, and it's kind
Yeah,
of
it's a
hard to
wild
watch it at
sport.
times. But I can see kids looking up to you on how you.
Yeah, and that's something I always take to consideration. Everything you do, you have to hold yourself to the highest standard. And especially for those watching. I have kids of my own, and I have a gym full of young men in there who I have influence over from their respect, and it's an important mantle to carry. When you have your own little community of friends and family that really look up to you. So I try to be what everyone needs me to be. There's another Batman quote there.
I have to write these down for you. So Gary Senior, I want to jump into another topic. We have obviously, we mentioned in the beginning that you had an injury where you were at home. It made you quadriplegic. I do have a friend a mutual friend of ours that he was a sports athlete, and he was I think going working one summer after graduating high school. He had an accident. Now he's a quadriplegic. So I've seen his life, and I've seen I didn't see him before, but I see him after, and all the things he's accomplished. And I hear
Yeah,
some great things about you as well. Can you just share with us how you've been able to adapt to life after your
yeah,
injury, especially
yeah.
being a boxer and everything before?
Jay is an amazing human being, and what he's done after his injury really inspired me. Because to be honest, before I got hurt, I didn't really understand what a spinal cord injury was, what a quadriplegic was. I thought when I got hurt, I was going to go to the hospital and they're going to fix me and I was come home. But when a spinal cord injury is such a devastating injury, because there's usually no coming back from it, and we all hope that there's going to be a cure in the very near future,
Mm.
because I need to give somebody a good one.
Gary
That's
Senior
that.
to. Oh,
That's what
sorry.
he's the most upset about. This injury is not being able to slap somebody.
Not only I only want to be nice to everybody. I don't ever want to. You know how there's
But
certain people that you just
I can understand it though.
yeah,
It's when you go from having the strength and everything to feel like you can defend yourself. I think that's what pulls a lot of people into combat sports to begin with. Is to want to have some type of feeling of control over yourself and your environment, whether false or not. It makes some people feel good. And so that's what everybody wants to feel that. So we get it. We get it. We're not
yeah.
judging you.
Well, I think Jay will tell me and be honest. Jay will be honest. Yeah, he wants to smack a couple of people too.
Yeah, who
Yeah,
doesn't?
right.
Everybody's got
Like,
somebody in their life they want to slap.
And
but I
not
may
that
I may not do it. I may Batman. I just may call you to do it for me.
Just signal up.
yeah, and not that we want to do that, but just having that feeling in the back pocket.
Of course.
But I've adapted to my life by being paralyzed very well now. It was not easy for me in the beginning to adapt to this new lifestyle, but I learned how to do it the same way I got up and trained every morning, and you know was able to be so much effort into my fighting career. I now I put effort into my business, and I'm doing very well. Um, I'm more successful financially now than I was before I was injured.
Wow.
Yeah, and Gary Senior, expand on your foundation, because a lot of people, when they go through an injury like that, they may, you know react in a certain way, right? In terms of, they may not adapt as easily to the lifestyle that you have to go through. So talk about being able to use your experiences as a positive light, a positive beacon for your foundation, and to educate people, and even, continue to help people in your same situation, to be able to provide that as kind of a beacon of light, and use your stories and experiences as an opportunity to educate, and allow people to learn
Yeah.
about, everything that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I'm going to share with you my life experience of why I came to be and open up this foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So after I was injured, I went to this rehab center for 3 months, and then I came home. And when I came home, I was kind of done with doing therapy aside from physical therapy, which was an outpatient physical therapy, which I did for a year after that. And after a year, I went there, we did stretches, we did exercises, try to use what you have and what works left. So I'm paralyzed myself. Everybody's injury is always a little bit different. There's no two that are exactly the same, but there's a lot of injuries that are similar. And you would call me a C6, a paralyzed C6 injury. So that means I'm quadriplegic, and I have paralyzed from the chest down. I have limited use of my arms. When they say quadriplegic, it means you're affected in all four limbs. My fingers don't work, even though I move my hands around a lot. I can't pick things up. I can't grab things. A lot of people wouldn't realize the difficulties with not having your hands more so than having your legs work. So if I could get a wish and have something back, my wish would be to have my hands work first before my legs. So, just to make things a little more different, but, I can grab like a bottle of water, like this, and I can hold it like this only if it's not too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the tendons, the tenodesis is holding you learn how to use what you have, kind of. So I can do that, like take drinks and stuff. So, but the reason I opened this adaptive gym and this foundation is because after a year of doing physical therapy, I went one day and they said, Gary, your time, physical therapy is up. Your insurance doesn't pay for it anymore. And whatever it would cost if I went, aside for that, wouldn't make sense. What I really needed was a gym to go to exercise like every other able-bodied person at that time. I didn't really need physical therapy anymore. I just needed a gym, and there's really no gym for somebody like with my injury. So I did find a place in Canton, Massachusetts. It's called Journey Forward, and it was a beautiful gym, multi-million-dollar gym that had everything you needed as a quadriplegic. The only downside to it was $100 an hour to use the gym. And even if I could afford $100 an hour, which I can, it didn't make sense to me. It wasn't fair that any able-bodied person could go to any gym in the state for $50 a month, even $200 a month if you go to the real fancy ones, right? And I'm going to pay $200 a day for an exercise just because I'm injured. Mm. And the way they had this set up is all their members were doing fundraising just and able to be able to go to the gym. It's like a full-time job to fundraise, because I've done plenty of that already too. So at that time, I told my friends, I'm going to build an adaptive gym here in Rhode Island, and it's not going to cost anybody with an injury anything. So I partnered up with the Cranston YMCA, and we built an adaptive gym. I raised enough money, $250,000, and we put these functional stimulation bicycles what they are is you put these stim pads, kind of like a TENS machine, if you guys ever used one of them.
Yeah.
But they go up, a TENS machine will go up to like 30 to 35 milliamps before it's hurting too hard. And then they say, okay, that's enough. That's enough, So, but these machines, because I don't have feeling, I could go up to 130 milliamps with no problem. And these stim actually build muscle in your legs. So those were the most important things to me. Maintain what you look like. If you see anybody with my injury, that their legs are just atrophied, look like skin and bones, If I could show you my legs, I could tip the camera. I have the sexiest paralyzed legs in America. It's been voted. 3 people voted this, so I believe them.
You got our vote. You got our vote.
I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
But I just and we have 77 users in the community that use that gym, and they're all in wheelchairs, and they're all gaining the use of that just for the cost of a YMCA gym membership, and if their income doesn't support it, it's free. So that I just didn't think there was something better to do than that, and we have the same. Well, the more efficient equipment as this journey forward that is ripping people off that have injuries, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I understood the insurance side. I think going back to Jay a little bit, he fought many years trying to get insurance, and like he needs it, right? He needs to be taken care of, and
Yeah.
the insurance industry would just screw him over and not give him the money he needs. So I'm glad. I'm glad that you're doing that for people. And I don't know where I would be if I had an injury, if I would have the mindset or the strength to do that. I think your background gave you a lot of that strength to continue fighting. In other words, you're still fighting in a way, but you're fighting for another cause and
Right.
helping people. So for that, I think that's well to be applauded.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I think Batman's trying to get his work in, so but I want to ask you, you're the third, and I think I saw the third someplace. So I'm assuming your grandfather was Gary as well.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I know they call you Junior, but I said no, I think he's the third. But
Yeah.
He is.
kind of give us an idea. So your dad was, the boxing. You kind of grew up in the gym, but you chose another way. And from my knowledge of the MMA, I mean, boxing. I watched Tyson. I watched Holyfield. I watched all these boxers. Basically, that to me that's what I saw. And then the MMA was like, I don't know what, I don't know a lot about it. I heard about it. I've seen a little bit. But what made you choose that? Like, what was it that you said, hey, did you box in the beginning? And then you chose this, like, and I'm assuming some of it is boxing. So kind of give us an idea as, how you chose the MMA over boxing. What was what did you like to do?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said before, I grew up in my dad's boxing gym, so it was just something I just did. I didn't know there was an option not to, not that I was pushed to make do it, it looked so like it was like a playground in there every day for me. And literally I'd get in trouble for swinging from the bags and stuff. A little bunky. But so I had some boxing experience. My dad put me in a few little competitions and stuff at 4 years old and 6 years old and 8 years old. So by the time I turned 8 years old, we decided we'll start wrestling. And my dad fell in love with wrestling right away. He, because I was, naturally just a rough and strong, kid, and he was a fighter, so it was just that toughness inside. It makes you want to make your kid tough, and
Yeah.
he wanted to put me in wrestling, and as he saw me doing it, and I had good natural potential for it. And so he pushed me in that more and more than boxing. He would think he wanted to spare me of getting punched in the head, through a lengthy career. So I wrestled for some time, and then shortly after got jiu-jitsu caught my attention. And that was the first thing that I discovered on my own. And and seeked it out on my own. I started learning things by just watching, the early UFC fights, and YouTube started becoming more popular. People were using it and showing you how to do a basic triangle choke and stuff like that. So I'd I'd use my dad's younger brother. We're only a couple years apart. I'd use him as my practice dummy, and we'd wrestle all the time and use the chokes. So my dad took me to a jiu-jitsu gym, and I had a blast with it, and it had a natural potential for that too, and so I stuck with it ever since, and just started following that path as UFC started to rise, and MMA became more mainstream. By the time that happened, I was already on board and ready. So it was fun starting a career in MMA, it being a little different than my dad's too. I grew up, everybody expecting me to be a boxer because my dad was a very successful boxer, and to go and carve my own path, feels cool, and more fulfilling to myself that I followed the same toughness path my dad did, but made it my own. And that's a cool thing.
Well, that's awesome. My son, I pushed him to baseball because I was, what I played and what I loved. And he got into high school and he was playing high school baseball. He said, "Dad, I'm going out for wrestling." I'm like, "What's that?" Like WWE? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't know. I had no knowledge of it. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And
Gonna power bomb somebody
and
off the top rope.
yeah, and he did actually, he wrestled for he wrestled for 3 years, did very well with it. I mean, he went from being a slim guy like me to he's big guy now, muscular, and and learned so many different moves. And in his senior year, he got senioritis, and he didn't wrestle. He would have went to state easily, and he chose to just want to work and not be in it as much. But from there, I can understand the MMA part because he fell in love with MMA. He's like, "Dad, I'm gonna go fight." I'm like, "I think your mom wants you to go to school for engineering, and you need kind of your brain. So I don't know if she's gonna let you do that, but he loves it, and he's learned so much about it, and I think it's the connection with wrestling. It just kind of like he fell in love with it from there."
It's fun to do wrestling or jiu-jitsu as recreational even activity, just to do, because it's like it reminds you of being like a little kid again, but you're a grown adult now, and you're wrestling around with these guys that you become close with, and it's a fun thing. It's like you're just going to wrestle around your brothers or something, and it's horseplay. It's like another level of bonding, with friends, and feeling like you're still a kid again in some ways. I think that's something we all chase to some degree, is that type of childhood joy. And I remember when I was a kid, so it's like living like that all the time. So it's been a fun career to take up, a hard one, but a fun one. And there's a story that what I wasn't gonna say, but I'm gonna say it. I had to know how to fight because my father used to make me fight all the neighborhood kids because he thought it was funny. That motherfucker. And yep. Oh yeah. So every time a new tough kid walked by in the neighborhood, he'd say, "Hey, my son?"
No, I did not.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I tell him to leave those kids alone.
And I feel like too, like especially in the MMA world right now, we're seeing so many guys have so many different fighting styles, like and having such a plethora of different ways that they can compete in the octagon, that I think it's honestly important to have those different fighting styles and those different forms of fighting when you're in the octagon. I imagine that's got to be a big thing for growing yourself as a young up and coming fighter in the MMA scene.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with seeing my dad fight, and big stages and crowded arenas, thousands of people screaming, and so being in that spotlight and seeing it, and it was like a normal way of life. It looked like in my mind, and then it was something I always felt like I was gonna grow into. I didn't I didn't think about it being not what I would do, you know.
100%.
Can you share with us a little bit this coming up, the Dana White Contender series? Like how did you get into that? And just kind of explain what that is for someone like me that has no idea. I mean, I kind of know, but I'm not into it like that.
Yeah, it's a very big thing. They're on their 10th season now.
Hmm.
They started this as a way to be the official way of adding fighters to the UFC roster.
Mm.
Um, so all the athletes that get on there are all, battle tested guys who've earned their shot,
Mm.
and it's they call it the toughest job interview in the world. You're showing up and you're fighting in front of the company president himself and the whole production of it and millions of views around the world. So you're going in to show that you're a contender in the UFC and you belong here. And it's a fun and exciting thing. It's like watching America's Got Talent. You see people go up there and shoot their shot for their dream and
Yeah.
see if they got what it takes to do it. And but this is even always against somebody else who has the same dreams and wants it just as bad. So it's always an action packed card, more maybe more so than any regular card, because this is everybody's one shot. So it's an intense thing, but it's really cool. It seems to be very popular with the fans and the viewers.
So what happens on like someone has victory at that point? Dana decides, okay, you're going in, but I mean, can a guy lose and still get picked up because he just might have?
It happens sometimes. Yeah, there's been a guys who've lost but put on such a hell of a performance that and the fight was so close, that they both get a contract. Or sometimes guys win and it's just not all that impressive the way they did it, and they still don't get a contract anyway. So it's circumstantial, I guess, in a way, which makes it even more a little bit of a wild card and a little more exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's a
How
Anything
good
can
opportunity to
happen.
beat up on somebody, right? And do it in a good way and get in.
That's it. You got to go beat somebody up and get in.
Gary, how has this camp, has the like feeling been different going into this camp compared to like other fights you prepare for? Like I know you fought guys who have been in Bellator who have now starting to make their career in UFC, but like going into this fight, has it been a different feeling going into camp, just knowing like what's at stake, like what you're going into? I mean, how has camp been so far with the opportunity that's in front of you on the table? Like how have you been able to process, going through this camp here, coming up with this fight?
Yeah, I mean this is my 24th pro fight, and having done so many headlining shows and title fights
Mm-hmm.
and fighting a high level of competition. My whole career I started off, I was very particular that I didn't want to have a padded record. I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
soft opponents. I wanted worthy opponents. And because I knew that was going to be the way that I get the experience needed to be in the position I'm in right now. Now here I am, more than prepared all these years later. I've seasoned and matured as a fighter. And so it it's just like going into any other fight, and I can go in without any fear because I really have nothing to lose. I have everything I could need. I have a great wife and healthy, beautiful children and great friends and family in my life. I have a rocking, you know, combat sports gym and so life's just fun. I already won. Everything else is a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So seeing how this all plays out is just as fun for me to watch as it is for all my friends and family who've supported me all these years and believed I could do it. And it's why I decided to take the shot in the first place. I had retired kind of unofficially from MMA the last almost 2 years, and I was fighting exclusively with the bare-knuckle
Mhm.
fighting championship.
Mm-hmm.
And really having a great time with that too. It felt like so much simplified, version of a training camp and everything else, and I think that's what fans enjoy about that so much too, is how, simple it is, like a barroom fight, so much fun. But I felt like I had to take a step back to MMA when I had this opportunity and see my journey through full circle. It just felt like it's where I'm supposed to go for whatever reason.
That's
And
awesome.
you got such an incredible person, support system with you with your father, Gary Sr. I mean, Gary, what is it like to see your son and be a mentor to him in this journey in his fighting career? I mean, I know you obviously have your boxing, career, your extensive career in boxing, but to
Mm.
see him kind of paving his own path and continuing the Balletto legacy in fighting in the MMA world, what has it been like to see that and be a mentor to your son?
So rewarding. He was built for what he's doing. He really was at a young age. Everybody that's been great in any sport, they started very young, and he's one of them. And you know, he's mastered combat sports, I should say. He's pro boxing, pro MMA, pro bare knuckle boxing. I mean, he's jujitsu, wrestling. He's done everything. And he's so calm, confident, cool, calm, and collective. That's what he is.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I would have known, Batman, you were a fighter if I didn't know you were a fighter by just talking to you. That's how cool and collected you
Yeah. Oh
are.
yeah, no, I'm definitely an odd duck. I definitely don't wear that on my sleeve, that that I can fight and I do this stuff. And my personality is built around, the same nerdy pop culture shit everybody else is into.
Oh yeah.
I love when I get to see a new Star Wars flick, or the Odyssey came out
Oh
lately.
yeah,
That was
so that,
cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Spider-Man, big movie guy, taking my
Yep.
son to all these things, been so fun too. And I dabble in playing guitars and got a big Lego collection my son and I have been building for a few years now. It's ridiculous. I just live like a big child, and I think that's what the real meaning of carrying the Batman mantle is, you want to be a superhero. They're letting other people do weirder shit these days, Go be a superhero.
The funny thing
Guys,
is that,
I
yeah.
told him to grow up. He won't listen.
I refuse.
Well, but, Gary doing the third Batman, however you want me to call you, but I would say that you're like my son. You guys can walk into any place you want and defend yourself, and no one will ever know, right? You can box somebody out, you can wrestle somebody. Like my son, who walks around, Dad, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, he's a big kid.
Yeah.
I was raised him in Florida. It's a little bit different than raised in New York, but like my wife says, we never have to worry about him. He can take care of himself. He just takes somebody
Yes.
down, hold him until the cops come, you're good to go. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. And that's a nice thing knowing. I got my son into jiu-jitsu recently. I opened a program for kids at the gym now. So now we have a boxing program, jiu-jitsu program, and everything for the kids. And then having my son do it and seeing him, you know, doing it and loving it has been such a blessing and a surprise. You're never sure if your kid's gonna like the same things that you do, and you never want to feel like you're pushing them or forcing them to do it, and so it's been a real blessing, having the situation I have with the gym and having my son step into it and enjoying it now. It's because that's an important thing to know that your kid, when eventually you're not there, they're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And it's a cool thing, and if he's at school, some kid bullies him, he's got it. I don't gotta worry about
Yeah, I think
it.
the father probably
Guys,
felt a little bit the
I
same
gotta
way.
tell you, there's no gym like this gym. And the instructor always sets the tone of how the gym's ran and everything. And you can tell it sounds like a big play place. It's like a big playground. It's fun, but it's worth coming down just to see that gym.
Well, I might have to. I have
Back
family in
cage.
I
The
have
Bat
family up in
Center.
that area, so I might have to just come in and just check you guys out one time.
Yeah.
But I'll say that this has been very entertaining for me, a very learning experience on both sides of it. Like I said, I've been a fan of somewhat of boxing, learning more and more about MMA and UFC fighting. But I can see the relationship between father and son. You carry down what your dad's given you. Now you're giving it to your kids and your son as well. So, it's a family affair, right? And you both have found success, and whatever your kid, I know, is going to find success in that, it's going to be based on what you're teaching him, and you guys are doing it the right way. So, Gary Sr., you've raised an amazing young man, and like I said, I wouldn't know you were a fighter unless
Yeah.
I saw
Thanks,
you,
Dave.
but now I can see you're handing that out to your son. So, listen, nowadays, kids need good men in their life, and it's great to see that your family has some great men in your life to help the next generation stay going in the right direction. So,
Thanks, Dave. Likewise.
Very nice.
well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. I will have you guys back because I want to know exactly, more and more what's been going on, after the fight. We'll be tuning in, watching and rooting for you, of course. And then anything after that, anytime, you want to share anything, this will be the platform you guys can come on and share whatever you're doing. We really appreciate having you
It's
guys.
been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, really.
Thanks,
So
guys.
Really
this
was.
is
Thank you. Thanks
you're
again.
you're welcome. This is episode 118. I know Dylan really quickly once again wants to plug what he's doing this coming week because this is a great segue to how we're going to get more involved in the professional fighting world.
Yeah, obviously, we're really excited to get to watch Gary Jr.'s big fight here coming up on Tuesday. We also will have a big fight that we'll be covering on Saturday. Chris Cyborg's retirement fight coming up on Saturday in Tampa. PFL action happening on Saturday. So looking forward to being there on site in person, getting to cover my first MMA event. And hey, listen, this might be a foray. Hopefully, I'll be covering Gary Jr. and seeing him in the UFC on like UFC whatever, fighting for the world title or something. I hope to be
Thanks,
covering
Dylan.
him at a world title event here coming up soon. But
Mhm.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're excited to continue to obviously expand what we're doing here on Legends on Deck, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So looking forward to be over there in Tampa on Saturday night. So it should be
All right.
good.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. Once again, everybody subscribe so you can watch more great stories that we're sharing on our podcast. Thank you again for tuning in.
Thanks again, David. Thanks, Dylan. And I love you, Batman.
Love you, Pop.
No problem.
Bye.